Cubs payroll, big issue with a lot of you guys because you're wondering, like, what exactly are the Cubs going to do as far as how are they going to spend their money moving forward? And are they going to have enough for Cody Bellinger? I think that's the question that a lot of you guys are asking. We're going to talk about the payroll. He's Chad Anderson. I'm Mick Gillispie. This is the Cubs baseball channel. Don't forget, we want you to be part of our roster. And it's easy to do. Like, subscribe, give us a thumbs up. In the channel right now brought to you by the Tennessee Smokies, the Cubs AA affiliate. They won their first championship in 45 years. That's when Chad was 10. And I'm just kidding, Chad. But anyway, they won their
negative 10.
You were negative 10. They finally won a championship. They've got the swag to prove it. And they want you to go to their team store, Smokies Baseball /store, and check out some of the really cool gear. All right, Chad, let's get into this. You own a mortgage company. I mean, you know numbers. You're a number cruncher. I'm just a regular old sports broadcaster. You wanted to do this show, and I love it when you come to me with ideas because I'm going to learn something. Educate me on what the Cubs are spending right now on this roster, because we've got to figure out how we're going to have money for Cody Bellinger.
So I just want to go kind of down this list here with you, Mick, and I want to get your knee-jerk reaction here, your instant, genuine, unfiltered reaction here, okay? Because when you start like naming some of these guys and you throw numbers beside their name and you start thinking about putting a team together, there were a couple of things that, kind of had me thinking, caught me off guard a little bit. So Dansby Swanson, top of the charts on payroll. Okay. This is active players. Okay. For 2024 payroll. All right. So you've got, this is in 2024 because Cody Bellinger's on here. So let's say it was this year. All right. Dansby Swanson, 26 million.
Okay. We knew that. That was the first year.
That was the big signing. Yeah.
Right. First year of a 7-year deal. Big time money, but you know what? The guy performed. I mean, we had to wrestle him to get him off the field. So I appreciate that.
Ian Happ, 21 million.
I like Ian. I've known him since he came up through the system. I don't put him as a premier outfielder, but he's the third hitter on the team. He won a Gold Glove last year. So, it's big money, but you know what? I mean, that's big money.
Seiya Suzuki, 21 million.
I thought Seiya had, after a slow start, he had a really good season and was one of the best players on the team. I was really impressed with him. I love his energy, everything about him. But, I mean, that's what it was going to cost to get him from Japan.
Marcus Stroman, 21 million.
Yeah, I knew
he's not opting out.
Yeah, he's not opting out. I want to know what happened. I mean, why is there questions about this cracked rib cartilage? What does that mean? I don't know what that means. We've really never seen a pitcher get that. And everybody's been like, it's kind of, we don't see a lot of pitchers with cracked rib cartilage. And then, when Bruce Levine said, hey, some of the Cubs front office not real happy with him, I guess there's a reason why. I didn't like him, putting the $sign on the mound when he pitched and stuff like that. I'm more of a team guy. Greg Maddux went through that with the Cubs where he was trying to get a contract and he didn't put a $sign on the mound. He just went out there and kicked ass. Stroman has that same ability. And I think sometimes he gets in his own way, but when he's healthy and he's right, he's worth that money.
All right, let's look at, I went back to 23. Let's bring it back to 24 here. So with the rest of 24, Jamison Tyon, 18 million. Kyle Hendricks, I'll give you a 2 for. Jamison at 18, and then Hendricks with a club option at 16 million.
Look, Jamison Tyon was the deal that I was never happy with from the very beginning. I mean, like the guy's got this history of being hurt, and we never know what we're getting from him. That's always, to me, the biggest issue with Tyon. I just want to know what you're bringing to the table. And we'll talk about Hendricks too. At least I know what I'm getting from Kyle Hendricks from start to start. He might only throw 86 miles an hour, but he's going to throw strikes. He's going to really research the other team, and he's going to keep you in the games. When the Cubs needed Tyon, it's like every time he was out there, it's like you'd be down by 3 or 4 runs. I don't know. Now you got him for 3 more years. I hope Tyon proves me wrong, but that deal to me was not a good deal. It was a waste of money. I'd rather overpay for somebody that comes in and overperforms than overpay for someone that underperforms. And I feel like that's who Jameson Tyon is.
The next guy, Cody Bellinger, has a mutual option. I'm going to go out on a limb and say 12 million is not going to work out for that guy.
No.
He's obviously going to get a bigger deal than that. Nico at 11.5 million.
Yeah, put me back on. I love Nico. I love him.
Great.
I think he plays solid defense. Is Nico like I've been waiting for him to become Rhino, and he just doesn't have the power, but he squares the ball up like Rhino. He moves like Rhino. He's going to win a Gold Glove this year like Rhino did. He's just solid at getting on base and setting up the other guys on the team. So I'm fine with that. I mean, he's homegrown talent. I remember Sam Hughes, who was the Cubs national cross-checker, telling me about watching Nico when he was in college and what he liked about him. Nico's an everyday big leaguer, and he is reliable. He you know what you're going to get from Nico every day. So I'm really satisfied with Nico, and I think 12 million is reasonable for him.
Yeah, 11.5. That's a great deal for Nico. I love Nico as well. 3 more here, and then you get into the arbitration guys who obviously we won't know what the exact number is going to be for them. But Drew Smiley, 10.5 million.
Yeah, I'm not no.
Exactly. That again, a guy that should have been dealt back in June. Right. Smiley had a sub-3 ERA.
I know.
And they didn't deal him. All right, Yan Gomes, 6 million.
I'd keep him all day. Give me another year of Yan Gomes. Even if it's just teaching, just working with Amaya or Aliendo, who is the AA catcher for the Cubs, who's going to be a big leaguer. I don't know which one of those guys, or if either one of them, Amaya or Aliendo, is an everyday guy. But they're big leaguers. You got you got to get those guys right. Figure out who's going to be the future, or if you go out and make a trade or you draft somebody. The catcher spot for the Cubs to me is one of the biggest soft spots in the entire organization. And it's also one of the toughest spots to fill. But Yan Gomes, to me, I picked him as the guy I want to go out and have a beer with. I know, I like him. Bring him back.
The last one that's in the vet status is Brad Boxberger at 5 million. So
gone.
So all right,
just off of health. Just off of health.
Right.
If you're not healthy, and you're in the bullpen, you don't have a job.
So just some other stats, and you guys may be going, well, wait a minute, there's a lot more on the roster than that. And you're right. So Justin Steele, Mike Tauchman, Adbert Alzolay, Wisdom, Madrigal, Leiter, Merriweather, and so forth. All of these guys are arbitration with their contracts. Going to arbitration, they'll are eligible for arbitration. Retained salaries. So this is leftover salaries from players who have been traded, released, or buyouts or declined options.
This is where I'm going to not like.
Two of them, Mick. I hope you got some Pepto or something. So Trey Mancini, $7 million. What did Billy Beane say in Moneyball to David Justice? The New York Yankees pay you to play against them.
Yeah.
And Mancini, I mean, it just never got going. I understand why they did it.
But that was a bad signing from the beginning. Yeah. Look, I was saying from the start, I mean, at least I never thought the Cubs were going to win a World Series last year, and they didn't.
No.
And I didn't think they were going to make the playoffs, and they didn't. But they did it. But I didn't think they were going to make a run like they did, and they did. So I mean, I'm going to give them credit there, and tell you that you got to reward the players when they step up like the Cubs did. But as an organization, the Cubs didn't move forward they didn't get the value that they could have got from that roster because the team made you think they were going to make the playoffs, and obviously they didn't, right? The two worst signings to me were Eric Hosmer and Trey Mancini, because those are the kind of guys you go and you get when you're right on the bubble, right? When you're like, hey, we're gonna be a World Series contender, and we just need that veteran leadership to help the young guys. Instead, you went out and signed those guys to block guys from getting opportunities, right? We still don't know what Matt Mervis can do, right? We still there were still guys who we could have possibly gotten a look at that we didn't, because we brought those two guys up, and signed those two guys instead of bringing guys up anyway. And so, yeah, you're right. I'm not, and I have a lot of respect for Mancini. I love what he did in Baltimore. He was on the World Series champs last year. He's a great piece when you're right close. The Cubs weren't ever close to a World Series winner this year.
The other one is Tucker Barnhart at $3.25 million. Those are the only two retained salaries. But again, that's your catcher position, Mick.
Well, Tucker Barnhart, they had to do that because we didn't know if Amaya was going to come back from injury and be ready to go to the big leagues and compete, right? And the Cubs, they really, I'm telling you, the soft spot right now in the organization is catcher. They need to go out and make a deal and get a guy like a Shea Langoliers, somebody that you can bring up that's like you're really confident in, like the Braves had him and they traded him for Matt Olson. And now the A's have him, and eventually he's going to be one of the best catchers in baseball. You want a guy like that you're looking down the line going, hey, Wilson Contreras was that guy for the Cubs when he was in the minor leagues. Even Kyle Schwarber before they, brought him up before he was ready to go. But they just don't have that right now where I look and go, this is an everyday starting star catcher. So I'm not holding that Barnhart deal against them at all. I get it. You just didn't know what you had going into the season.
The only other number that's on here, but it's really not a big deal because it was just deferred money. They just delayed paying it. But the Cubs will pay Jason Hayward $5 million in 2024 just as deferred money. Just pay him to go have a good year. Pretty good year with the Dodgers, to be honest.
His salary is actually off the books because they just paid him, I think, right? So
okay, maybe this week
did it. Like it just got paid.
Breaking news, all right?
Right. No, and I'm glad you brought that up too, because that turned out to be one of the worst deals ever. Even though he gave
Soriano-ish deal.
Yeah, well, but Soriano was still producing at the end of his tenure with the Cubs. That guy was a ground ball to second base a lot.
Yeah.
And I just don't get it, because when I saw him come up with the Braves, he was superstar. When he was with the Cardinals the year before the Cubs got him, he was a really good player, but not that type of deal. They way overpaid for him. And honestly, I think that's one of the biggest mistakes of the Theo Epstein, run as the Cubs president.
So he did do the clubhouse speech. You got to remember that in Game 7 of the rain delay. So that alone was worth what, 180 million or whatever he was.
Well, yeah, to us it was, but
to us, yeah,
they might have won without it.
So two last things I want to do. This is just a summary. Okay, so 2024 active payroll for the Cubs, 168 million. Estimated arbitration salaries is going to be about 17.4. Estimated pre-arb salaries will be right at 7. Retained salaries will be 10 million. Deferred, which is Hayward, is 5. Buried minor league salaries is 5.5 million, because you got David Bodie, who is getting paid $5.5 million next year.
To be in the minors, right?
Yeah, to be in my. I mean, that's the nicest. It's like tour bus or hotel setup probably any minor leaguer has.
Smart deal by him.
Yeah,
go Bodie.
Absolutely.
I love Bodie. Good. I'm glad you got paid.
So the Cubs end up for projected payroll total $208 million for 2024. And if you check that against other teams, the Cubs, so this is I led with all that because I want to end with a simple question here for you, Mick, or a thought. The Cubs have the 4th highest payroll in Major League Baseball, behind the Mets, Phillies, and Yankees. So when you go back and you go, well, wait a minute, the Chicago Cubs have the 4th highest payroll in major, and they're begging to get into the playoffs in the final week of the freaking season, and the Brewers are running the Central every single year, it feels like. And let's be honest, I love Dansby Swanson. Should Dansby Swanson, is that your top paid player in your organization? Now, there are other guys, I get it, who are better maybe at their position, like Justin Steele may be more valuable, but he's just now becoming arbitration eligible, so you haven't fallen into that contract scenario. But you just step back and look at some of that, and I go, man, the Chicago Cubs top 4 payroll players, Swanson, Happ, Suzuki, and Stroman. And to me, Mick, one that doesn't sound like, when I just kind of glanced at this the other night and sent you the topic, I said, those top 4 players are not the top 4 players on the 4th highest payroll in Major League Baseball. And the Chicago Cubs can't have the 4th highest payroll in Major League Baseball and not be contending. But that's what they have right now. And that's all. I had that reaction when I saw it the other night. I'm like, you're telling me that Swanson, Happ, Suzuki, and Stroman are the top 4 on a payroll? Like, that's bad to me.
Yeah, great points, man. Because if you told me that, I would have never believed it. Here's a couple things. If I'm the Cubs, I'm looking at that and I'm going, seriously? They have a wave of guys that are coming. And it's time to let those guys get up there and then find the pieces that fit with the guys that are coming. You know, we're going to talk this week about the outfield and the players that they have coming to build the outfield around. Maybe Happ's not one of those guys. I think Suzuki is, but maybe he isn't. If you don't sign Bellinger, it's Pete Crow Armstrong and then, whoever, right? But to me, that's sad. If that's the 4th highest payroll in baseball, that's telling me that you're not doing enough of basically building your own players from the minor league system, because that's where your payroll stays low, right? When you got guys and you bring them up and you let them play. So, look for Pete Crow Armstrong and Matt Shaw and Kevin Alcantara and those kind of guys to get up there and make a difference. Great topic today, guys. And Chad, that was one of my favorites, man. I'm glad that we got a chance to do that. Hey, let me know what you guys think. What do you think? Do you feel like that's the 4th best payroll, highest paid payroll in baseball? Are you getting your money's worth? If you went to, and you spent that kind of money at a car dealership or on a house or whatever, would you be satisfied with the product you're getting for the 4th highest payroll in baseball?
The only fan base that can be more pissed is the Mets.
Okay.
That's it. Okay.
Well, the Phillies. And that's crazy.
Yes. I'm saying the Mets are pissed because they're the top payroll, but they suck.
but the Phillies are saying, I mean, not the Phillies, but I'm sorry, the Padres. It's the Padres. Yeah. I mean, look, the Phillies are doing it the right way. They've paid for guys that want to win, and they're winning. That does it for this episode on the Cubs Baseball Channel. I want to hear from you guys. You tell me what you think. Jump in there and leave your comments. And if you're not already part of our roster, we're paying top dollar for prospects. Join us at the Cubs Baseball Channel.